What the world needs most right now is good young men. The problem is the devil figured that out way before we did. There is a crisis in society right now. Young men are struggling with their mental health. The problem is that it doesn't look how people expect. You might not always see tears or panic attacks or kids saying, "I'm anxious," but it often manifests itself in much more subtle ways that I'll get to in a moment. But because they don't scream help, we miss it until it's often too late. As a priest, I see it, and the latest data confirms it. We need to be taking this seriously. In this video, I'll outline the 5 ways our young men are being targeted. I'll share the saddest statistic in all of this, and I'll propose what I think is the solution. If we had good young men, we would have better fathers, better marriages, better families, better priests, better leaders, and a better society, which is why the devil is coming directly at our young men and has been for so many years. So it's about time we take a look at this targeted attack. I'm Father David Michael Moses. I'm a Catholic priest, and if you find these types of videos helpful, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. The latest CDC survey showed that 40% of high school students felt persistent sadness or hopelessness. For boys, it's about 28%. Still massive, and it's nearly doubled in the last decade. Instead of manifesting itself in emotional breakdowns, it shows in anger, shutting down, risky behavior, addiction, or the one I see the most, numbness. Kind of a whatever attitude. Friends or parents might read it as, "He's just a chill guy, he's easygoing," when inside, he's battling and he's losing. I'm all for discipline. The problem is that the whatever attitude applies to discipline too. Once someone is numb, it's hard for anything to be effective. So how did we get here? There seem to be 5 major reasons. First, we have an isolation epidemic. Boys today have fewer real in-person friendships than any generation before. Average teen screen time is 7 to 9 hours a day. We're made for communion. The Catechism even says man is created for relationship. Young men don't have brotherhood. They chase dopamine instead. Second, the internet. We talk a lot about social media comparison hurting girls, but social media crushes boys too. 75% of teen boys see constant muscular ideal content, and 91% face body or appearance pressure online. Muscles, jawline, money, status. The result is rising dissatisfaction and even a feeling of worthlessness. Closely connected with social media, one of the biggest hidden drivers fueling the crisis is teenage boys' use of pornography. Recent surveys show that 70 to 90% of teen boys have seen porn by their mid-teens, with many first seeing it around the age of 12. Besides being fundamentally disordered, the content can even become violent. Compulsive use is directly tied to higher anxiety, depression, stress, extreme loneliness, and even thoughts of taking their own lives. Besides the obvious problem with any addiction, pornography shapes how young men view people. Women become a means to an end in a way that doesn't shut off when the screen shuts off. It affects how he talks to people and cares for them. On a biological level, dopamine is a motivator. A man liking a woman motivates him to pursue her, to love her, to become a better man for her, in the hope that he can date or even marry her. When a young man can get that same dopamine hit on his phone, it absolutely kills his motivation to go pursue an actual relationship. And the thing is, his brain knows that he took the easy way. Actually pursuing a wife and a family leads to satisfaction. Getting a quick hit online leads to deep shame and self-hatred. But the more you do it, the more you want it, and the harder it is to get out of it. Third, the school system. I was homeschooled. I would wake up early, feeling self-motivated, and get a bunch of schoolwork done, then spend a lot of the day outside with my brothers, playing the guitar, creating things. I know not everyone can do that, but it's worth recognizing that classrooms now reward sitting still, sharing verbally, being neatly organized. We know that boys develop slower than girls do, which can lead to feeling that they aren't smart or that there's something wrong with them when they're still just growing. Fourth, society has carefully pitted men and women against each other. We all want someone to blame, and the algorithm loves rage. Posts screaming, "All men are trash," or "Women are gold diggers," go viral. Echo chambers lock people in, and suddenly young guys feel like society sees them as the problem, while young women feel like progress means pushing back harder. It becomes a zero-sum game. If she wins, I lose. And it turns potential friends or partners into the enemy, when the real enemy is trying to divide men and women because he knows how powerful they can be together. Fifth, We have too many emotionally distant dads. So much of what I just said is a concern about our young men is a concern about their fathers too. In some cases, it's hard for fathers to help their sons with these things because they're struggling with them too. They're struggling, but they aren't speaking about it. So their sons feel even more isolated. Fathers do provide and protect, but the connection is shallow. Data shows that boys with emotionally present male figures have way lower rates of depression and addiction. And spiritually, men apply to God what they see in their fathers. If their dad is distant, then God must be too. Here's the stat that is the saddest. While girls report higher rates of anxiety, boys die from it more. Data says that males are 3 to 4 times more likely to take their own lives than females. Boys have the most fatal overdoses, risk-taking that leads to death, and completed attempts to end their lives. That last one is significant. More women attempt to take their own lives, but more men actually end up doing it. Boys and girls have the same pain, but they express it differently. Girls have more nets to fall on. Boys fall into the abyss. Again, the devil knows the potential these young men have. Good young men means good husbands, good fathers, good priests, good leaders. And spiritually, children follow the faith of their fathers. Studies consistently show this. When a dad regularly practices his faith and leads with warmth and closeness, around 70% of kids end up carrying on that religious tradition and commitment, even if mom's involvement varies. When dad skips out entirely, even with a faithful mom, only about 2% of kids become regular churchgoers. In fact, studies show that children who eat meals with their fathers have better behavior and even better health outcomes. Fathers aren't just optional, they are the key difference maker. When this generation of boys turns to isolation, anger, addiction, pornography, division, numbness, we're not just losing individuals, we're losing everything they would have been for society. The church and the world can't afford to lose another generation of young men. So, what's the answer? Well, I think the solution is for young men to know that they're part of the solution. They aren't the problem. They need to know that their lives are a difference maker in society. One of my parishes is named after Saint Stanislaus Kostka, who was a young saint who had as his motto, ad maiora natus sum, which means, I was born for greater things. That's what young men need to be told, that they were born for greater things than anxiety or pornography or numbness. They need to know that they were born to be great husbands, great fathers, great priests, and great leaders. They need to recognize their key role in the mission. They need to be given responsibility. Thankfully, boys adjust fast when they're given the right tools. I've seen young men be transformed when they have the right mentor and the right environment. We often say in the church that grace builds on nature. When we give boys the right environment, things change. So parents, teachers, priests can all start by recognizing the problem. Just because a young man appears to be easygoing, don't just move your attention on to someone else. Be present, build connection, invest, give him responsibility, opportunities for community, and call him higher. Parents, put up safeguards online to protect from the evils of the internet. And I would even challenge fathers. If you're struggling with anything I've listed, do whatever you need to get yourself right so that you can be better in helping your sons. God can even use the struggles you overcome to help you better care for those entrusted to you. As parents, be sure to seek professional help for your kids if that's needed, and know that the church is here to provide spiritual care. If you're a young man who is struggling, please talk to someone. You're not alone. Teen boys don't need to be fixed. They need to be formed and reminded that despite where they might be now, they were born for greater things. I hope you found this helpful. Consider sharing this with a young man or a parent who needs this. Comment what else you'd like to see in a future video, and we'll see you next time. God bless.